All right, parents, you know the drill. Spring arrives, flowers start to bloom, the trees are coming back to life, but your kid is stuck inside with a box of tissues, red watery eyes, and a nose that just won't stop running. You've tried all of the allergy medications. You tried keeping the windows closed and tracking the pollen counts and limiting outdoor exposure when things are really bad, but nothing is working. They're still stuck. And you're asking yourself, why are they the ones that are dealing with these issues? Why are they the ones that are trapped inside and unable to enjoy this beautiful time of the year, especially after we've been cooped up in winter for so long? The thing that we need to realize is that we're asking the wrong questions, right? We're looking at this as a pollen issue, and what most providers won't tell you is it's not about the pollen, it's about regulation, and it's about your nervous system. We need to understand that, right? The pollen is not the problem. Our body's reaction to that is where we go wrong. And that's something that makes sense, right? Let's slow down and think about it. Pollen is not some big, scary invader. It's not a bacteria. It's not a virus that our body should have an appropriate immune response to, right? That's what it's for. Our immune system should react. It should respond when some of those bad guys are coming in. We want to fight it off. We want to kick the sick. We want to get on with our health and thriving ASAP. But that's not the story with pollen, right? Pollen is harmless. Pollen isn't something that should have this massive cascade of histamine and inflammation and everything that comes if you've been in that cycle with your kid. And when it takes place, when that is happening, we need to ask what is triggering it, what is causing it. So let's get into it. Let's get into the weeds here. We got to understand that your immune system is controlled by your nervous system. That is one of the big misconceptions. And honestly, science used to think that those were two separate branches. We now know that they are intimately connected. There's a nerve called your vagus nerve, and it regulates the majority of our immune response. It regulates that inflammatory cascade. When we have a balanced nervous system, when we don't have that dysregulated immune response, the pollen is fine, right? Because like we said, the pollen is not a bad guy. The pollen is not a crazy invader or a bacteria or virus that we need to fight off. It's harmless. When we're regulated, no big deal. When we're stuck in stress, when our nervous system is stuck in the state of dysautonomia, well, now there's going to be all sorts of imbalance that occurs, and we're going to have a hyper response. We're going to have a histamine overreaction. We're going to have inflammation that really wrecks us and causes all the symptoms that you're familiar with. There's two different modes that your nervous system operates under. I want you to walk through this with me. We're going to call them the gas pedal and the brake pedal. The gas pedal is known as your sympathetic nervous system. That fight or flight or that stress response is okay temporarily, right? We can be in stress. We just can't get stuck there. Because if we get stuck there, our brake pedal, which is the parasympathetic tone, our rest, relaxation, digestion, growth and development, and immune system, the immune system regulation is coming from that wellness, that brake pedal. So the balance here, that gas versus brake shift, is at the root of so many long-term chronic challenges. And this isn't just kids, this is you too, moms and dads. So what we need to do then is realize what is causing this dysregulation? Like, where are we coming from? So much of our immune system originates in the gut as well. In the gut, our digestion is also regulated from neurology. It's our vagus nerve. That same upper neck cranial nerve comes out of the base of your skull. It's innervating the majority of our gut, the majority of our immune system, which is the foundational missed piece or the foundational part that airs when we have these allergic responses. When the vagus nerve isn't properly regulating and calming down that inflammatory cascade, the gut barrier breaks down, and then that turns into this immune hypersensitivity. And that's actually the same cascade. We're talking about environmental allergies in this video, but that's the same thing going on in food sensitivities, right? When you have different food triggers that are setting you off, that is the same process. It's something that's broken down in the gut layer that's gotten into the bloodstream. Our immune system is attacked, and now we have this hypersensitivity to it. And you have maybe you've done the food panels where you get the report back, and either you or your kid has a million foods that are red or lit up. Yeah, we got to back off on those temporarily, but we got to realize it got that way because of a dysfunctional gut coming from a dysregulated nervous system. So that's our starting point. We got to realize that these are neurological in nature. This immune dysregulation is neurological in nature. Next question you're asking is like, well, where the heck is that coming from, right? Maybe you think of that gas versus brake balance, that stress response as an adult. You're like, how much time you got? I could list all my stresses of this crazy coworker, this work issue, this haven't slept in 27 years, and all the things that you guys are juggling. But your kid, what are they dealing with, right? there is a whole world of perfect storm stressors that they face that we don't really realize because nobody is talking about them. We got to start at the very beginning, right? So much of what we are going to dig into when we have these sort of long-term immune chronic cases is we're going to start back in fertility. We're going to start in your pregnancy journey. We're going to look at how was mom's nervous system in that sensitive period of development. Were they stuck in stress? Were they stuck in survival mode? Because that's going to set up the neurological framework for that kid's brain architecture forever, right? Unless you get out of it, unless you shift back, that's going to have a long-lasting impact. So that early perfect storm stress from the birth, from prenatal stress, and then the birth process, if we have any birth interventions, birth trauma, birth injury, man, this area especially, that's the most sensitive area for a newborn, right? This is where they don't have that stability. So when we're pulling a kid out by the head and neck, when we're turning or twisting, when they're jammed up, when we have a long time pushing, those extra stresses at birth massively damage and impact that really sensitive brainstem and upper neck. So now we have a kid that the vagus nerve, that upper neck regulation zone, is almost turned off, right? It's turned down and down regulated. So prenatal stress, birth trauma, and then early life challenges, the colicky, refluxy newborn, the toddler with the ear infections, the latching and feeding issues that they might be struggling with, early exposure to antibiotics, all of those compound, and they shift our nervous system from a place of regulation and ease to a place of survival mode. And that gas pedal gets stuck. That gas pedal gets stuck in overdrive. And think of that as like your laptop, your computer, when it has too many tabs open and eventually it just crashes. That's what happens. Our stress response gets overwhelmed. Another analogy I love for this, and that's how I think about it, think of the circus juggler, the kind of party tricks they can do of, they're juggling balls and they can juggle 3 balls, and they can juggle 4 and 5, and they keep having someone toss an extra one in. 6, 7, 8, I don't know how they can get up to whatever they get up to. At some point, though, there's a ceiling. At some point, there's a limit. And when they have that last ball that's too much, it's not just the last ball that gets dropped, it's all of them. The whole thing crashes. That's what can happen physiologically. That's what can happen with our nervous system is we reach that breaking point, stress mode gets stuck in for too long, and then everything crashes. Another huge component to that is when we have that survival mode turned on, when we have that sympathetic gas pedal overdrive, cortisol, adrenaline, all those survival hormones get ramped up. And when we have cortisol ramped up, that's going to dysregulate our immune system. It shifts our immune system towards more of this pro-inflammatory, hyperreactive state that is not what we want when we're talking about, well, definitely not what we want when we talk about allergies. Honestly, not what we want when we're talking about anything for health and wellness. So what are your options? I mean, allergy medications will maybe make a difference on the symptoms, although a lot of you have been down that road and you haven't gotten the results that you want consistently. But there's a downside to that. They don't restore health. The allergies are not a deficiency of whatever the medication of the day is, right? A lack of claritin in your body is not causing your allergies. They're just masking the symptoms. So they don't restore health. They don't address the cause. They just mute the superficial thing. And what that often leads to is, one, is side effects, right? There's drowsiness, there's fatigue, there's maybe behavior issues that your kid is running into. But they also are ramping up their neurology, right? That already drained, already overstimulated nervous system gets ramped up even more from those medications. And now you're having more of those negative side effects in a different sense. Maybe the allergies are a little better, but you're dealing with other sort of behavior or emotional regulation challenges. And honestly, I maybe for a temporary season, we got to avoid the triggers. We got to stay inside a little bit, but I don't love that as a solution because it's missing the cause, but it's really crushing the quality of life, right? Especially coming in the end of winter season when we finally have life and green outside again. Man, my kids are so excited to get outside, and we as mom and dad are very excited to get them outside because they need it. Their nervous systems need it. Their regulation needs it because they've been out of balance for so long. So I don't love those solutions. I don't love allergies as an outlet or allergy medications as an outlet. And I don't love just minimizing the exposure because you're minimizing their quality of life and you're not really getting to the why. That is what we are all about, though. The nervous system approach to chiropractic, neuro-focused chiropractic care, we are going to address this. That gas versus brake regulation, we're going to do scans to figure out where are those primary findings, how is the nervous system handling life, and then we're going to put together a care plan of gentle, specific adjustments to unwind it, to pump the brakes on that stress response so that we can get back on track, so that the nervous system can regulate, and then the immune system can be downstream of that. This takes time, though. I would say for every case, but especially immune regulation ones, those don't happen overnight. there's immediate relief that absolutely comes with adjustments, right? Especially clearing that upper neck tension. There's some extra cranial sinus work. That is one of our patients' favorite things this time of spring season is working on some of those cranial bones, and that sinus pressure makes a world of a difference for that discomfort. But getting to the bottom of it, getting to that underlying regulation, takes consistency and takes time. So if that's you, let's start now. Let's not wait until things get messy, get ramped up, get dysregulated. Let's get ahead of that. Figure out what care plan they need, figure out where those underlying stresses are coming from, and start that healing journey ASAP. If that's you, guys, if your child feels stuck in that cycle of allergies, that cycle of missing out on outdoor play or relying on medications, don't just look at the symptom. Don't just look at the downstream. Let's get to the cause. That's the underlying takeaway I want you to have from this video is don't treat the symptoms, address the cause. Their nervous system, or yours, right? This could apply to you too. The nervous system is at the root of that, and until you fix that, these secondary things like the allergies or any other symptom aren't going to really resolve. So please let us help. Let us be a part of that journey. Reach out to our team if you have any questions. You can look at our website for the what to expect on what that initial new patient process looks like. But let us be a part of that healing journey so that you don't have to be in that constant cycle of struggling and avoiding playing and avoiding what really we need in that time of the year. Can't wait to meet you soon and help your family thrive.